So you've got the new Brad record out, and congratulations on that one, especially
Thanks.
coming so quick on the heels of Best Friends, because it took 8 years to get Best Friends out, and now you've done a 2-year turnaround on this one.
Yeah, and well, the funny thing about Best Friends was that we had that record almost basically recorded, and it sat for 3 or 4 years before we ever actually got it out. So it was a long stint of not recording. So by the time Best Friends came out, we really hadn't recorded together in 5 or 6 years. So we were all definitely itching to write new music and get back into it. But yeah, it's we're real excited to still be a band and kind of be looking back on 20 years playing together and just feeling real good about the fact that we have some pretty cool original music that we've written together over the last 20 years that still makes us happy.
Yeah. You mentioned 20 years. I mean, you've done the nostalgia thing once already last year. And I don't know that, I think it was always said Brad was never really a side project, but it was always kind of looked at as your other band.
It's a semantics thing. People talk about that all the time, and I mean, we don't really spend a lot of time describing it as anything, but it's a band, mm-hmm. and it's a band that doesn't get as much attention as Pearl Jam, which makes sense because Pearl Jam sells a huge amount of records, and I'm certainly more known for it. But I think there's just a feeling that when you say something's a side project, it sort of devalues it a little bit, and right. I think everyone in the band feels like it's a real band, but it functions on its own clock.
Does it age differently than Pearl Jam does? Does Brad age differently?
I think every band is different, and they're just fascinating to be in. I recommend them to anyone out there because they all have their different characteristics, and really when you do collaborative, music projects or any collaborative artistic design project with multiple personalities, you're faced with a whole series of sort of thrills and challenges in terms of the thrills being when you write a song, you go from not having a song to writing a song, and everyone is playing this role in sort of its how you play it and how it was written, and the sort of construction of it is one thing, and then the performance of it is another. But and how your strengths and weaknesses all play toward the originality of that sound, and how people, everyone's aesthetic view of what music should be, and where they kind of hear the groove, and where they hear the backbeat, and how they feel the song. It's really different, and each group will have its own personality. So it's really fun to be in groups that have been together for a long time, because one, there's a lot of you have a lot of wisdom that's at your fingertips that you don't really talk about it too much, but we really have a way of jumping right in and helping each other out in our songs. And you also have a lot of gratitude about just this sense of like, wow, this is what it feels like to be in a really like successful marriage, right. Where you look back on and go, how many different times could we have separated or broken up when things got hard? But if we had, we would have never made this record, or we've never had this song, or we never had the experience of going and playing this show. Or so they're kind of triumphs of will in a way, because collaborative things are difficult to maintain, and it's tension is part of it, and conflict is innately part of it, and how you work through those things and get back to that feeling where everyone's in the room looking at the same blank piece of paper, or whatever it is, same blank piece of tape. In terms of recording something, that's where the thrill comes from, because it's like no other. It's like no other thing.
Right. You use the word marriage, and a lot of musicians kind of describe bands that have been around for a while as a marriage, but not many people do get a chance to be in several marriages at once.
That's right. I'm a polygamist.
Yeah, that's right. Musical polygamist.
And that's part of the difficulties. It's very easy. It's much easier to be in one band when you share loyalties between two bands. It can be difficult. It does create. Bands are used to just the way a band usually survives, it's like, you know, us against the world, you know, and when there's that sort of, when there's other things going on, you have another situation that's us against the world, and another situation that's us against the world, there's inherently sort of conflicts in that. So, you know, but that's part of it, and you know, I feel pretty good about the fact that they're both still functioning after 20 years. So I'm very proud of both of those places.
Yeah. Me and McCready were just talking about Matt Cameron's kind of schedule, doing the exact same thing this year.
Yeah, the most successful drummer in rock history, I think. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, that's got to be another year for him.
Two huge bands out playing festival gigs, you know, where he's a writing and, you know, critical member to both of those bands in a way that, or you know, is beyond.
And I'm sure the fans would love to see that double bill one day. But God, how horrible would that be for Matt?
Well, you know, we could do it. We could just each play, you know, 10 or 12 songs, and it would be fine. It sounds fun. I think we should do it.
Back to Brad, one of the interesting things I was noticing, and I don't know if it was intentional or if it has anything to do with each other, but there's a bit of a contrast and even a call and answer to your album titles with this one and the last one. You have Best Friends with the question mark, and then a bit of an answer with United We Stand.
Mm-hmm.
Any of that intentional?
Well, Regan Hagar isn't so well. United We Stand was actually a song that we recorded for this record that actually didn't make the record, but we decided to name the record after that to create a curiosity about the track that we still have. We're still holding. So it's actually it's a really good song, but you know, we really have to. Every time we get back together, we go through a process of trying to believe in this situation again and trying to be there for each other, even though we know it's this sort of, you know, it's had these struggles. So, you know, I think it's a challenge to us to kind of, it's a reminder, you know, if we're out there complaining and mad at each other, then, you know, and if we have a record called United We Stand and we're not really united, then we'll feel foolish and hopefully work it out with each other. But
nice way to force yourself into it.
And I don't know if you've seen the artwork or not too, but it's also it's a pretty provocative album cover of it's a picture of Ben Franklin on the $100 bill with his eyes blacked out and a little bit of blood dripping out of his mouth too. So there's some sort of political comment, I think, that Regan and Sean were making that is to be interpreted, but you got to check it out.
Yeah, no, it is great, and you know, I think that little drop of blood stands out almost immediately on it too. So. Yeah, really well done. So what does it take for you guys to get together at this point, to get Brad together? Because you all, even outside of your musical lives, I mean, you have your philanthropy life and obviously your personal lives. So what's the dynamics of getting Brad together?
Well, it's everybody has to work at it. You know, you gotta make. Everyone has families, everyone has kids, everybody has, you know, other responsibilities, and it requires money and it requires energy from all of us to kind of to get it together. So. But it's our dream, and it's something that, you know, if we haven't done it for a while, we're all thinking about it. So some things you do because you just have to do them, and that's one of these situations where it's like we've influenced each other and been creative partners for so long. There's no turning back. You just gotta keep going, and it just keeps paying off because we keep pleasing each other with our songs and our playing, and we just really are. We're achieving something.
You brought in 3 songs to this one, 3 Gossard Penn songs, I guess. Miles of Rote, Diamond Blues, and Last Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, I think but we all really got in there on everybody's songs. But you know, in terms of bringing in the main riffs, yeah, those are the ones that I wrote, I'm pretty excited about those ones.
Yeah, Last Bastion has this real nice, dark, almost Sabbath feel to the guitar part going on. It's a bit different than I think I've ever heard from you.
Yeah, I have my inner Sabbath is just lurking out there. I need half steps, a lot of half steps, descending half steps.
Yeah.
Stones, yeah, that's Sabbath, a fun one. It's been really fun to play, and it's a real simple A/B thing, and you can turn on your fuzz pedal and. You know, there's no, you don't have to hold back on that.
Sure. And there's another track on there, actually, Teabag, that's not yours, but it really does sound like vintage Stone Gossard.
Yeah, Regan Hagar, I think its first musical I think his first songwriting credit for Brad, if I'm not mistaken, he might have had another one, but he's very proud of that one. And that was actually recorded, back in the Best Friends session. So that one's been around for a while. But it finally, we went back into the vaults and found that one, and we just went, oh, this has got to be on the record. So. We're excited that it's got a nice, there's plenty of up-tempo stuff on it, or sort of, rock songs, and we get the sort of slow jams on there as well, but, we're feeling pretty good about the balance on the record.
Yeah. One of the other big news, bits about Brad is you guys are actually going to do the re-releasing, of the back catalog. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what we're working on right now, is locating all the master tapes and locating all the artwork files and trying to get it together to re-release starting with the first two records, we hope. Yeah.
Anything we can expect from that? I mean, were there lots of other tracks left off of that, or is it basically just going to be a reshine?
Well, we don't know, because we're just really sort of going back and inspecting it. I don't expect there are going to be a lot of other tracks. There may be something that we haven't thought about, but we really haven't even started that process yet. So we're sort of looking around, but I'm not expecting a huge amount of new material.
We talked about this just a second ago a little bit, but you have been dealing quite a bit in nostalgia lately, kind of retracing the steps of your career for the past few years.
Yeah.
Is that something you do well? Are you a nostalgic person, or is this
I'm so excited about it being 21 years and not thinking about, particularly in terms of Pearl Jam, because, the process of having Cameron made that movie, and then, when we did all the re-release, and I think probably Jeff and Ed were more, had more to do with it in terms of like going back and actually doing the work of going back through all that stuff. I didn't really spend a whole lot of time in that process, but by the time we were done doing press for the last record and talking about the 20th anniversary and then the 20th anniversary show and then the movie coming out, some of those things are sort of inevitable that people are going to sort of look at 20 years as sort of significant, but I think I'm always looking in the long shot, and I think we've got our best record ahead of us still, yeah. Pearl Jam and Brad. So I don't feel old. I don't feel like I want to stop or I want to keep looking back. I definitely want to keep looking forward. So in 40 years maybe we'll have another assessment, but I think everyone will be pretty shy about doing anything more in that regard.
Yeah. Are you going to continue the box sets that you've been doing?
Yeah, I think so. I think that maybe there's one more for PJ, but I don't see that on the schedule anywhere. So that's probably maybe 2 years from now or something like that. Mm-hmm. Or as the records get to be 20, I think maybe that's when they'll start to come out. So. But I really don't know. Yeah. But I think part of our thing has always been like trying to find cool packaging that like is for like the super fans that are really like they want to see the history, they want to hold it, they want to get a poster, they want to find these cool bits and pieces, and Jeff and Ed have just done such a tremendous job of creating these packages that really are worth it, because they really the band really puts a lot of love into them. So I think that always will be part of sort of what we'll do. But yeah, I don't know when the next one's coming out.
Yeah. It shouldn't be overlooked, though, that you do have a personal record that did turn 10 years old last year, and that was Bayleaf. That just went under the radar. No celebration. No, I'm going to play Bayleaf front to back.
I think the Bayleaf record is still stewing down there. People are, still checking it out. I'm real proud of Bayleaf, and I probably have another solo record in me at some point in the next couple of years. I'll release something. So I write a lot. So and it's fun to write lyrics, and it's fun to sort of as much fun as it is to be in a band and the collaborative thing, it's also really fun to just kind of wake up and go into the studio and just say, this is what we're doing. I know how to go. This is what I want to say. This is the groove. This is how the bass goes. This is how that's fun as well. It's just to be, a fascist.
Right.
And so you got to embrace your inner communist and your inner fascist when you're in music.
I love those. I do. I love that record. I still listen to Bayleaf often. In fact, I think I give Pigeon some spins pretty occasionally over here at WFPK. So.
Oh, great! Thanks. Yeah, I always thought that lyric was pretty special. I wasn't done sleeping around at that point. I am done sleeping around at this point, though. So just so you know,
it's good stuff. So hopefully when we see another solo record out there, I mean, it's a.
Well, you'll be the first person I'll send it to. I know now that there's a DJ out there that cares. So I didn't know before, but. Well, I do.
You had some tracks that you were putting up online there for a little bit, though, but they just never got compiled onto a proper disc, I guess.
Yeah, it's all, spending more time working with Brad, there's only so much time in the day. I'm a dad, and I'm married, and I'm, madly in love, and I got my mom and my dad. There's always something I got to do, so sometimes your solo stuff will just go by the wayside, but I got it all, and eventually it'll all come out, and people can look at it and see what they feel about it.
Right. Well, so there's only a couple PJ shows. You got a string of Brad shows. How do you plan on spending the rest of the year?
Well, hopefully, there's PJ recording, and we'll be doing some more of that and trying to finish a record this year, and then hopefully, adding on more Brad dates as well. We're up rehearsing now for our West Coast, and then we'll be on the East Coast in May, and we got Happy Chichester is playing with Brad again, which is just great.
Happy.
He'll open up some shows for us as well, and we're just having a blast. We're going back to the catalog and figuring out what we're going to play and figuring out how to play these new ones. So hopefully a lot more of just these groups.
Yeah, Happy's from right up the road. I got to meet him a couple times last year. He's
just the most delightful.
He's great.
Yeah.
Worth asking, actually, how was Ed doing? Because I know there was a bit of report there that he had to cancel his tour because of some damage he had. Is he doing all right at this point?
Yeah, he hurt his back a little bit carrying a bench. And he just picked it up the wrong way and slammed it into a tree trying to navigate his backyard, I guess, or something. And he just tweaked his back, and he's just trying to get well. And it's just the issue is just he's got to do the right physical therapy for the next 6 weeks to make it all work again. So he realized that he had to take a break. His arm was kind of going to sleep, and he wasn't getting better, and so he's in the process of getting healthy right now, and we just been thinking about him and text him and tell him I love him, and I think he's I think he's improving, but it's been a little bit I'm sure it's been a trial for him, so I'm just wishing him the best, and I think everything's going to be fine, but we're waiting to see how he's doing.
Would you have a second to actually wax a little bit on public radio? It's Public Radio Music Month, actually, that we're doing right here.
Sure, absolutely.
And you guys, I mean, you've been in the business now that you've seen pretty much all sides of radio and how it deals, and you understand how public radio works, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I write my check to KXP and KPLU every year, so or I don't know, is it KPLU in Seattle? Maybe at KUOW, I think that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's something that's worth paying for sure. Non-commercial radio is, you look at the impact of KXP and what they're able to accomplish using a methodology that is absolutely against every big commercial radio station's strategy over the last 10 years, which is consolidation and controlled playlists and payola and sort of collusion basically. And you look at KXP and you just see like a band, you see a group of people collaborating together and trusting each other and growing their style. Each individual DJ really having a unique take and a unique style, and people really responding to that and really supporting it because it's valuable. It's worth it, and their influence in terms of their influence is so far-reaching now, and much more so than probably even the amount of money that they're taking in. I think that if they were paid for their influence on a bigger scale, they would be it would be great. And I remember listening to KCMU at University of Washington, and getting turned on to songs like "You Might Like Me Better If We Slept Together," or
right.
Sort of those first time when you're hearing these songs that were like, wow, this is not. I didn't hear this on KSW or one of the rock stations, or hearing Subhumans, or Pearl Jam's a big supporter of public radio. Public radio's been great. We listen to everybody, tunes in. It's like, I want to hear Warren Olney on To the Point. I think that his that show and the style that he exemplifies it shows the real way to find the broadest perspective on an issue in a really, with a lot of wisdom and a lot of it's just interesting and powerful. So it's a big deal.
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate the kind words. I don't think I could have said it better. And actually, we appreciate everything Pearl Jam's done for public radio, and we try to give it back tenfold. So thanks for taking the time.
Yep, Kyle. Thank you
for everything. So and we'll see you around on this Brad tour, and we look forward to all the new music you're going to be throwing our way.
All right, cool. Thanks for the support.
Have a great day, Stone.
All right, man.